Yeah. Okay. So today we will be looking into business digitalization and cyber law as our next part of SME Survival Kits series here. And just to give a bit background of who we are, who actually is UOW Malaysia KDU, just to share a bit with you. As you can see here, UOW Malaysia KDU. In fact, KDU itself, we have about 36 years of experience. Yeah. In fact, we are one of the first private higher education institution in Malaysia itself. At this point of time, we have 4 campuses, 2 in Klang Valley, 1 in Damansara Jaya, and another one is in Utropolis Glen Mary Shah Alam. Yeah, this is our signature campus, as you can see in the picture. And we have 2 more campuses up north in Penang. One is in Georgetown on the island side, and another one is on the mainland side in Batu Kawan as well. So since end of last 2 years, we are part of UOW Global Network. Okay, UOW stands for University of Wollongong, Australia. And now they have extended their wings into Malaysia as well by collaborating together with KDU. Yeah, so the new name for KDU now is UOW Malaysia KDU instead. So now all the students and academicians within the KDU's area here, we also have access to all the UOW network of materials and expertise as resources as well. Yeah, just to let you know. Okay. So a bit of the background of the session for today. Okay. So as the recent global economic slowdown and COVID-19 issue has really impacted very much on the economy, especially the SMEs, yeah. And we also know that the Malaysian government has introduced several economic stimulus packages, but there are still some condition, yeah, for the SMEs to really survive through the new normal situation as everybody is going through now. So therefore, this virtual discourse session is really to focus on the understanding of technology, online platforms, and cyber law in order to enhance the SME's online presence and business sustainability. Okay, so this will be the framework that we will be using for today's discourse session here. Okay, so allow me to introduce to you our 2 distinguished panelists for today. The first one is Dr. Issac Lim. He is the co-founder of the technology incubator InQBay Berhad. He is also the official technology partner of MDEC in the Digital versus COVID campaign, the recent one. And he is also currently serving as the Honorary Treasurer at the Malaysia TRIZ Innovation Association, or MyTRIZ. So Dr. Issac, you would like to say hello to everyone?
So hello everyone, good evening, and thank you for UOW Malaysia KDU for inviting me to participate in this talk this evening. Thank you.
Okay, the second panelist that we have today is Mr. Szu Fu. He is a Senior Partner of Vries Co, and he's also a qualified Adjudicator for Asian International Arbitration Centre. Yeah, and currently he's also the Penang Chairman of China ASEAN Legal Cooperation Centre in Malaysia and the Honorary Advisor for China ASEAN Legal Cooperation Centre in Guangxi, China. Mr. Chan, you would like to say hello to everyone?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm online today from Penang, and then thanks for having me. Hope you will benefit from the seminar today. Thanks.
Okay, great. So later on, you can actually frame your questions if you have any specific questions. If it's anything regarding to technology, digitization, business perspective, then probably Dr. Issac will be able to address to you. While if there's any related to the legal factor, specifically on the cyber law perspective, then Mr. Chan will be able to address to you as well. Yeah, of course, I have my colleague here, Yvonne, will be assisting together to moderate this session as well. Yeah, Yvonne, you want to say hello to everyone?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Go ahead.
Hi everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. So we hope that you could benefit from this session. So have fun.
Okay, great. And myself is Brian, yeah, just to let you know first. Okay, so let me just go through a bit of the issue that we are facing now. Yeah, as of today, the data that I've recorded from Bloomberg, there's almost about 3.75 million cases on COVID-19 and almost 264,000 death worldwide. Yeah, so this is just to show how critical this particular condition is, and therefore in Malaysian context, the Malaysian government has started to introduce implemented the movement control order since 18th of March, and hopefully by next Tuesday it will be lifted. Yeah, that's what we are seeing in this Malaysian situation now. And a bit of influence of COVID-19 on SMEs online presence. Yeah, we have talked about whether COVID-19 is a blessing or is a curse. It really depends on how SME owners look at it. Yeah, and whether you like it or not, now if everybody is locked down, if you want to continue on business, the only way is to do online. So therefore, there are certain industries started to change their business model in that sense, and started to look into their online strategy instead of the usual physical presence itself. Yeah. And just to make everybody in the same page, the definition of SME in this particular session is adopted from SME Association of Malaysia. It's split by two different categories here on manufacturing as well as services or other sectors. Yeah, and how do we define them, whether it's a small or medium? Any businesses, out of the zone of the small enterprise, we can consider them as a micro enterprise in that case. Okay. So the Malaysian government has actually introduced the economic stimulus package back in on the 27th of February 2020, in fact, yeah, by the then interim Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, which worth about 20 billion ringgit. And a month later, the current Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin introduced the first Malaysia Prihatin economic stimulus package worth about 250 billion ringgit. And 10 days later, an additional Prihatin economic stimulus package for SMEs specifically has been introduced and worth about 10 billion ringgit Malaysia. Yeah, and based on these stimulus packages, the Malaysian government believe that this actually creates an opportunity for businesses to undertake reforms, especially in the key areas like digital future as well as quality investments. Yeah, so therefore today's topic, today's session itself for us is very much focusing on the digital future context, yeah, for the SMEs to survive upon the post-COVID condition. Okay, so in newspapers we can see very clearly a lot of SMEs are now remodeling their business online. Everybody is going there online basis, whether consumers or the sellers themselves. And based on these MDA report recently, you can see very clearly the traffic to online businesses, yeah, online grocery stores has increased tremendously. Yeah, the growth are like 4-5 times higher than compared to January 2020. Yeah, so it's really a great impact in terms of their online business. Yeah, even though they cannot open the shop physically. Okay, and based on Vodus insights as well, some of the reports has shown that the impact on e-commerce in Malaysia is quite impressive in the past MCO period. So businesses like Foodpanda, GrabPanda, for example, and Damakan continue to dominate the online food delivery market. Okay, while you can see also there are certain regions where they used not to have a lot of online shoppers for non-food items, started to increase tremendously as well, especially in the northern area. States like Kedah, Johor, even parts of Sabah, Sarawak has been reported of a significant increase in terms of online purchase as well. Yeah, so these are some of the impact that we can actually see from reports published in recent days in regards to the COVID-19, yeah, on e-commerce in Malaysia. So it's really a new normal situation now that everybody is facing. So we suggest that the SMEs is really a time for them to embrace themselves and start to remodel their business to face the new normal condition now. Yeah. So I would not dwell further into it. So let me just invite the first panelist, yeah, Dr. Issac, to share his view on this condition, especially on the business digitization context. Dr. Issac, please.
All right. So good evening again, everybody. Yeah, thanks for having me here to share my thoughts on this, because I'm on the ground at the moment with the SMEs, and we are also advising some larger corporations as well. And what we are seeing is that, interestingly, the economy is hitting a reset button. So through this crisis here, it could be a catalyst, as Dr. Brian earlier mentioned. Is this a blessing or a curse? But let's be positive, and maybe this is the time for us to shake away what is shakeable. For example, over-reliance on the oil and gas industry, and also over-reliance, for example, in the tourist industry, over-reliance on certain tourists from certain countries. So these are actually dangers that are being over-reliant on certain groups or certain industry. So this is actually a good time for a lot of companies, new companies or even established companies, to move forward to transform themselves because they have no choice. We talk about digitization in the past 15, 20 years, ever since, we have Cyberjaya. We talk about digitization, but not much traction has happened is because companies are given a choice whether to go digital or not. But now, with this MCO, we have seen that there's no way to communicate without going digital. Now, when we talk about digitalization, it's actually about building connection. So that's the essence of it. So when we see technology is just an enabler and an equalizer. It is not the solution. It is a tool for us to use. So for today's discussion, I just shared a simple snapshot, like a checklist actually, for those of you who are in the industry already, or you're from academia, or you're still studying. I'll give you our thoughts on the 5 pillars of business digitization. So at InQBay, we are technology providers. We develop proprietary technologies. So as you can see on the screen now, you will see about 5 pillars and also some description on the tools for each of those pillars. So these are the tools that we have seen that are very trending and that have been used in the market out there to help businesses. And so we try to create local versions out of it. And also we have an integrated solution. If you were to find these different tools out there, you will need to subscribe and use it separately. But for us, we integrate all of that tools together for all of our clients. So anyway, what we do is that we try to help not just startups, but also solopreneurs. So what we observe through this COVID-19 is, for example, in 2008, the global financial crisis was the subprime issue, right, that triggered in America. And that actually led to the boom in fintech. That was 2008, all right? That led to the boom of fintech, that people begin to transfer their trust in the banking system and into fintech companies. So because of that crisis in 2008, we have a lot of fintech companies, all right? In 2020, what we are seeing are 2 trends emerging from this. One is digitization, and another is actually the decentralization of human capital. Okay, decentralization of human capital. What does it mean? It means that a lot of full-timers will become part-timers. And instead of having a full-time job for one company, people would be able to offer their services and skills to multiple companies of their choice. So what we're seeing moving forward is digitization, decentralizing the operations of the company, the product itself, everything is decentralized. The operation is happening everywhere at the same time. So for example, work from home now, right? Your operations are everywhere. Business hours still go on, but there's no office. Office hours still go on, but there's no office. And then we will talk about having a job, but not having a full-time job. So this is an interesting trend that we are observing here. So that's why we have built several tools, and I will cover some case studies as well along the way. So that's just a brief overview on what I'll cover today. So yeah, and if you have any questions, do drop it in the Q&A chat box, and we'll address it along the way. Okay.
Okay.
Now,
Yep.
Yep.
Go ahead,
Questions?
Isaac. Yeah, go ahead.
So if not, then I'll just start. Okay. Now, when we talk about business digitization, a lot of business owners, they would think that, oh, it is something so high tech, or where do I start? Okay. This is where that is why I came up with this checklist actually. we all start from leadership, which is the first pillar. What is your vision and mission for your company? And has your vision and mission changed, in particular in this COVID-19 season? Before the pandemic and after the pandemic, has it changed? And why has it changed? Or why should it remain the same? And besides that as well, what is the true soul of your company? What's the true brand and image of your company? So before you talk about business digitization, you really need to address that. What is really your vision or your mission that you try to accomplish with your company? So some of the tools, as Dr. Brian mentioned, that I'm also representing MyTRIZ Innovation Association. So MyTRIZ Innovation Association was established way back in 2010 with the intent of enabling communities to innovate and equipping them with the right tools. And what tools? Thinking tools. So TRIZ is actually a methodology used by Fortune 500 companies to come up with innovation. And so we have been using TRIZ to help companies, local startups, MNCs to innovate. So anyway, what's more important in business digitization is actually really what is your end goal? That needs to be very clear, because oftentimes the common mistake that any business would think is that, okay, the moment I subscribe to Facebook ads, I will get business already. They'll think that digital marketing is the final solution. But no, you will need to have some sort of a vision and a mission in place first. What's your real focus? So, and then after that, we move on to, okay, maybe we will, let me see. Okay, just hold on. I'm just scrolling up the Q&A, just in case that I move on too fast and I forget to look at the Q&A. Okay, now, and then also we see these 5 pillars. Oftentimes people think that, okay, do I need to start from step 1, then 2, 3, 4, and 5? Not actually also. You can start with at any point of time, and you can focus and expand at any of these pillars. You do not know everything one shot before you begin. All right. You need not have all of the answers before you begin. You can start with simple things. All right. Now, since today's webinar we're talking about COVID-19, I'll just give you some examples about event industry. Okay, if we look at the second pillar on products, so over here I put there what are the checklist questions that you should ask yourself is which new markets that need your existing product. So oftentimes you will hear business owners say that with this COVID-19, my clients are not buying from me anymore. But the question is this: you still have that good product, but where can it serve its purpose? Which new market can you serve? All right. The second question you can ask yourself is perhaps you have your existing clients, but they have different needs now. What new products can you serve them then to your existing market? So I'll just give you an example at InQBay. This is what we are getting requests from. Is it from the events industry? And so in the events industry, with this social distancing in place as well, it's impossible to have mass gathering. So what do you do? So for us, we have come up with 3D virtual exhibition. So imagine you, instead of just having a WebEx meeting or teleconference, but for a large crowd of thousands of people, that's quite impossible to just have a teleconference meeting. So that's what we have done, is that we have come up with a 3D virtual exhibition. So for example, you would be entering into a multiplayer universe game. Yeah. So any one of I see a lot of students here, so I think most of them would have played PUBG before, or Fortnite. Okay, so imagine PUBG or Fortnite, instead of going around shooting at people, but over here you are actually extending your business card. So in the virtual realm, you can walk around in this virtual exhibition center, and then you can go to the different booths, and then you can speak with actual people. So what we see is that events industry, they still carry out their function, their purpose, their product, but in a different platform. So instead of face-to-face, into 3D, right? Then after we have even professional like accountants, we have even some lawyers actually, and also we have engineers as well. So they can't offer their professional services directly. So what are they doing now is that they're offering training. One interesting case study I heard from was insurance. Someone from the insurance industry, they could not sell their product during the MCO. So what happens is that that person began to train other insurance agents. So within a few days, I think the the class sold was about 50,000 ringgit. Yeah, within 1 week. So not too bad. I think the person earned more from the training rather than selling insurance. So what we see is that the main thing here is that if you are in business, you either find a new market for your existing product or you find new products for your existing client. So it sounds very simple, but oftentimes people would just panic and they'll find a totally different industry to dwell in, or they'll find a totally different product, or they'll try to find totally non-relevant clients. So no. So how can we again use tools, digital tools, to help us deliver our products to the same crowd or to different crowds? Yeah. Let's see. Okay. So anyway, so that's just one key example on events industry. And now, Dr. Brian, any questions so far? And
No.
For the rest, I'll just briefly touch.
Yeah.
Okay. So for administration, this is also another way to digitize. Is that, for example, how do you handle your team who are working remotely? So we might consider project management tools. Okay. So one of the common one is like Slack. We do have our own as well, where you can manage the time in and time out. So for those employees, they would time in when they have started a certain task, and they'll time out once they complete the task, and they will upload their work to this centralized platform. Then we talk about teleconference meeting as well. How can you record every meeting, and how do you timestamp as well every meeting? Because some clients they bill some of the services that are billed according to hours, so all of this can be recorded. And briefly again back to marketing, and normally when we talk about digitization, oftentimes people would think about digital marketing, but business digitization is more than digital marketing. When we talk about marketing, what are your channels? How many types of channels do you have? And when you talk about relationship management as well, how can you automate managing all of your clients from different countries, different places? Yeah. So, and oftentimes also you will hear this is that if a salesman leaves a company, they will take the clients together with them. Yeah, you heard that before, right? So that is why it's important to actually have your own CRM, which is a customer relationship management platform. So again, not many companies are aware about this CRM. So besides CRM, we also encourage you guys to have like chatbots. So chatbots are automated bots that replace human reply. So for example, if you've got clients that have any inquiries, and you, instead of waiting for someone to respond, a chatbot is programmed to reply accordingly. Now, besides that, also you might have social media management of different platforms, and it gets messy. And oftentimes, also the mistake that people often do is that over reliance on just advertising, but without having a proper campaign to it. So that's why if you have like a centralized control of it, it's important. And finally, the final pillar is about sales. Are you doing analytics? Do you really know your clients? And this is what we see. Why is it important to have a database of your clients? Is because of you want to think about valuation of the evaluation of your company. How do you value your company? Data equals to the value of your company. So a lot of people say that data is the new oil, right? So yeah, so data, how well do you know? What type of information do you know about your clients? So all of this important, and perhaps Mr. Chan can explain further more about handling of this data. So a lot of companies have been using, but unfortunately abusing as well, this data. So yeah, so we talk about, and I just want to highlight one more thing as well. You guys know about e-commerce and whatnot, and about those marketplace platforms like Lazada or Shopee. But one thing I'd like to highlight, what's trending next is actually live commerce. Okay, what is live commerce? Live commerce, if you go to your Facebook or if you go to Shopee or some of those platforms now, you can see the sellers selling live on live stream. So it's some sort of like we are on live now, right? So apparently sales conversion is very high when it's through live. So live commerce is like the pasar malam, okay, like night market, going to a night market online. And apparently that's doing well. And moving forward, products that have video promoting it, those would succeed better actually. And live video promoting it, those would have a better conversion rather than just text or brochures. Yeah. So moving forward, the internet, you are going from e-commerce to live commerce. And we talked about e-commerce, and Dr. Brian have mentioned just now that that there's the double-digit growth for the different e-commerce platforms throughout this MCO season. But the latest data shows that e-commerce in total only represent about 10% of the total retail sales in Malaysia. Yeah, only about 10%. And for the rest of Southeast Asia, it's about less than 20%. So in other words, there is more that could be done. Oftentimes people would think that e-commerce is saturated really. The market is very saturated. It's too late for me to enter now. No. In fact, now is the right time to enter because you still have 90% more of the pie to take over. So now is the right time actually. And also because through this MCO, everyone's educated to how to use, how to purchase things online already. So yeah, this is actually the right time. So it is a very brief overview, but we'll go in detail later on if there's any questions. Yeah. So yeah, that's my part for now. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Isaac. I will next to pass on to Mr. Chan for your view, please, Mr. Chan.
Okay, thank you. Right. Before we talk about cyber law, okay, I think we should ask ourselves, what is internet in the first place? Okay, or what do we understand about internet or cyberspace? Okay, because when we don't understand something, we tend to shun away from it. Some people are, of course, excited about internet or cyberspace. For example, like what the Dr. Isaac says just now, the live pasar malam thing. Okay, but for those who are scared or discouraged to venture into their business into the internet, let us see the definition of the internet, which is in this slide. Okay, what is internet? Okay, internet is a global computer network providing a variety of information and communication facilities consisting of interconnected networks using standardized communication protocols. Okay. Bear in mind, I highlighted the word interconnected networks. Okay. So what are the networks? Okay. Network facilities is defined as the elements of physical infrastructure for network services. Okay. This is the definition under our Communications and Multimedia Act. Okay. Why I highlight this? This is to show that internet is something with real and physical presence. Okay. Nowadays, I think all of us heard about the cloud. Okay, the cloud, which gives us the impression that the internet is something that connecting us to the sky, okay, or from the sky. Okay. However, most of the data that we are accessing, okay, is actually through a network of cables under the ocean. Okay. Can you the next slide? Okay, here you can see the world map of the underwater under the sea connections, and the next picture is the cables. Okay, illustration of the cables under sea. Okay, this shows that the internet is simply a connection of cables. Okay, in fact, very long cables connecting us globally. Okay. Okay, now we know that the internet is just something with physical presence. Okay, and that everyone that goes online has a physical presence. Okay, get it? Okay, therefore, the law of the real and physical world, which is what we are having now, okay, the real and physical world is applicable under internet users. Okay, for example, fraud, misrepresentation, breach of contract, okay, all of which be applied into the internet environment as well. Okay, well, nevertheless, we do have laws that enacted cyber laws, what we call cyber laws enacted to specifically tailored for the internet environment. Please see the next slide. Okay, cyber law in Malaysia. Communication and Multimedia Act is mainly dealt with the network service providers. Digital Signatures Act is dealt with digital signature and certificates. Formally recognize the authentication of the digital signature. This is mostly for the payment gateway and for banks, for example. Okay, E-commerce Act. Okay, E-commerce Act is more relevant to our topic today. This is relevant because it provides legal recognition of electronic messages in commercial transactions. Okay, the Computer Crimes Act deal with authorized access to the computer. For example, hacking, phishing of the information. Okay, Telemedicine Act. This is something the regulation of the practice of telemedicine, and the Personal Data Protection Act, which is the PDPA that by Dr. Issac just now. This act is to regulate and process the processing of the personal data in commercial transactions. Okay, in commercial transactions. Okay. Having said that, we do have local laws to protect us and recognize the e-commerce. Actually, the real concern is because the cyberspace or internet involve a global or national connections. Okay, when there are disputes between the foreigners, okay, how and where can we take actions and to enforce the remedies? Okay, this is what we call the jurisdiction issue. Okay, for example, if you export your goods overseas, then the buyer in China is not satisfied with your product and brought you to the China court. Okay, obviously that would be very expensive to defend yourself there. Okay, how to overcome the jurisdiction issue? Okay, the best answer in my view would be to self-regulate. Okay, how to self-regulate? Basically, it's the way we code our own e-commerce website, okay, to reflect our preferences. Okay, imagine you are in the cyberspace. Okay, imagine you build a house or business premises in the cyberspace, and then you request the consumers to agree to a jurisdiction of the choice. For example, you want your any dispute to be heard in the Court of Malaysia or by way of arbitration, AIAC, for example, Asian International Arbitration. But if the consumer refuse, you will just keep him outside your doorstep, and then he will not be allowed to enter into your business premises, okay, until he agrees to your terms of dealing. So in that way, you have your own control and need not worry about getting sued from people for all around the world. I believe that's the main concern of the people who are discouraged to go internet. I mean, to go online. Okay. Just to wrap up as a conclusion, my final slide. Okay, this leads to my final slide. My view about cyber law. Okay, I quote that what is stated by Lawrence Lessig. Okay, that quote is law. Okay, this book was authored back in the year 1999. Okay, after 21 years, the world and the cyber world is actually moving towards what he had been advocating and predicting. Okay, that's what he said. Look at this quotation. The invisible hand of cyberspace is building an architecture that is quite the opposite of what it was at the cyberspace birth. The invisible hand, through commerce, is constructing an architecture that perfects control, an architecture that makes possible highly efficient regulation. Okay, that wraps up my view today regarding the e-commerce and the cyber law in the e-commerce.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chan, for your views on the cyber law perspective here. So now we are open for a Q&A session now. Okay, so if you have any question, please leave your questions into the Q&A box so that we can read it out and our panelists can address to your question itself. Yeah. So earlier on, we have a question from Szu Fu. Does InQBay provide platforms in the likes of Mechanical Turk, managed by Q or Uber for X, etc., customized in the context of Malaysian gig economy? So Isaac, perhaps you can address this question, and maybe you can explain a bit of the technical terms that used by Szu here, so that
Okay.
the rest of the participants can understand. Yeah.
Okay. So thanks, Vries, for your question. So basically, Vries is asking, have we developed any freelance platform? So we talk about gig economy. Basically, it's about gigsters, and in other words, freelancers. So in Malaysia, about 24% of the labor force are actually freelancing currently.
Okay.
Okay, but most of them are freelancing in the lower skilled jobs. Okay, so last year, InQBay have decided, and we saw the trend about the decentralization of human capital. And so we took the plunge, and then we decided to focus on providing a gig platform, but for higher skilled jobs, for higher skilled
Okay.
freelance jobs. So, and seeing that, I think majority of tonight's talk are students, right? So in our strategy, in our approach in coming up with this gig platform, how are we localizing it is this. The first group that we are reaching out to are actually the university and college students. Okay, why so? Is because a survey has been done, and they said the majority of the private and also public university and college students are having financial difficulty just to have a simple meal. Okay, 45% eat Maggi mee daily. Okay, instant noodle daily, 45%. So a survey was done on 27,000 students, and what was found that 45% of students are eating instant noodle. Okay, and then the remaining eating bachelor rice, nasi bujang. In other words, that is white rice with chicken soup without the chicken, just the soup, and also one fried egg. Okay, so that's the bachelor rice. So it gives a new definition about your bachelor degree, having needing to eat bachelor rice. So this is where we see that there's a need there, that the students are having a tough time just to complete their degree. So, and they are not having the flexibility of time to have a full-time job. Okay, and the other type of part-time jobs, most common will be working in F&B or in fast food outlets, or working as cashiers at some supermarkets. So these are the common jobs by the students. So even for me, I was working part-time in a pizza shop before as well. So but the thing is this: when these students, they graduate, and then when they're finding for a full-time job relevant to their chosen industry, oftentimes during the interview they'll be asked, okay, you're a fresh grad, but do you have any working experience? And they will say, oh, I've worked in this F&B outlet before and whatnot. It's great, you have some soft skills, but then wouldn't it be better if these students are exposed to real work relevant to their studies or relevant to their interests? Okay, so that is what we aspire to achieve in the first phase, which is to have this gig platform to meet the needs of the student to, one, earn a living, okay, to supplement their monthly allowance, and two, to learn on the go. Okay, so our tagline is earn and learn on the go. So they learn on how to complete real life projects given by real companies. Okay, so earn and learn on the go. So that is why in January we actually approached the Ministry of Education Malaysia, and we have gotten their official support actually. So they'll be helping us out to reach out to the public and private institution of higher learning. So hopefully after this, maybe we can have a discussion with UOW as well on this. We want to help the students. So how we localize it is through this. We are very focused in our first phase, which is reaching out to students in the gig economy. Yeah.
Okay, so basically for the SME owners, InQBay can actually provide these kind of platforms, right?
So for SMEs, if you're looking to hire people to complete a certain project, certain task, you need not hire a full-timer anymore. So now you can come to the platform, and then you can see based on review, based on the experience, based on the price point as well. Then you can select which talent is suitable to complete the task. Because moving
Okay,
forward,
great.
I think a lot of people will be very scared to hire full-timers.
Yeah, that's true. That's one of the business remodeling as well, right? In terms of reducing the variable cost for businesses. Yeah.
Correct.
Now, as the Szu here just now identify and talk about Malaysian gig economy, and everybody knows that gig economy is a trend now globally, and it's picking up in Malaysia as well. So perhaps, and also when Dr. Isaac also talk about live commerce, the revolution from e-commerce to be live commerce now. So I'm just want to ask a question to Mr. Chan, right? In terms of legal perspective here, if anyone bought things on live commerce, for example, how do we trace the seller if anything goes wrong? Because those who conduct their business through live commerce, they may not have a physical business, right? They may not even have a registered company with SSM, for example. Yeah. So in legal perspective, what kind of law that governs this kind of condition based on the law that we have now?
Okay, when we talk about the live sales, okay, selling by live, how did that person uh, uh, conduct his live sale in the first place? Okay, what I'm saying that, okay, if you have some platform to sell your product, definitely there's somewhere that you have logged in. If you are logging through, for example, you log in through Facebook, okay, definitely your information, your personal information is already there. Okay,
Okay.
so if your personal information is already there, then you could be traceable, unless you log in with the fake name and those things. Those will be for the internet service provider to disclose.
Okay.
Now,
Because internet, hmm,
in addition to the questions that Dr. Brian has just asked, so we actually have one questions here as well, like to to look at how effective are actually the law at this moment protecting the cyberspace. For example, like on top of the questions that Dr. Brian asked earlier, like how is the law going to govern? So how effective at this moment are the law governing this cyberspace world?
actually, instead of asking whether how the law is effective in governing, because um, if it depends on whether where you have the business. For example, let's say that person he so-called the live advertising, but he was actually from overseas. Okay, so now even though the local law, let's say the Malaysia law, did protection to the local consumers, you're buying from your purchaser from Malaysia, or you are entitled to the consumer protection. Let's say the goods are not satisfactory, but is it really sufficient? Is it what can we do? Can we really sue him overseas? Is that it is even if we have law to protect us,
Mm.
is it really efficient enough to cover overseas? Because like what I said just now, it's a jurisdiction issue. Okay, it will become a fight between this country and another country citizen. So
Mm.
so the question is how to prevent that to happen.
Okay, let's say, for example, if it is a local, because at this moment, as for the past 1.5 months, like most of us are being locked down. So that, like what Dr. Isaac has mentioned earlier, there are so many live streaming services. So, do you actually need to register your company if, let's say, you're managing or running an online businesses, like for example the online business, like I can just declare, hey, I'm so and so, I'm currently selling this product, so buy from me. So do they prove that they are actually a genuine seller, they're actually a genuine businessman who are registered under the CCM, which is the under the law of Malaysia?
Yeah, actually, if they are selling the products online, they are supposed to register a business. This is the our law. So then many are still selling private. I mean, in private without registering. So it's up to the person to or the complainant to make a complaint against them if they don't have a necessary license to conduct their business.
And
Okay.
if, for example, I am a purchaser and
Mhm.
I bought this product from individual who do not have a registered business, so where can I go to actually complain or get my issue solved?
Oh, I mean, if you are the consumer, you can go to the consumer tribunal. But the main question is not where to complain, is whether is that person that you are dealing with is a genuine truth person that has been registered, and that you can know his personal identity. Which if it's a local business with a local seller, I don't think there's much problem, because definitely you will send a transaction, you'll make online transaction to them, and then definitely you'll send to his bank account. Okay, in that way, we'll be able to know who is that person. And then to bring them out.
Okay, so which means like there isn't any regulations at this moment to govern or protect the buyer. Can we say that?
Oh, there is actually. It depends what kind of situation. If you mention about fraud online, our local law is under penal code. It's enough to cover this kind of situation. But yet again, the question is how to collect all the evidence and how to trace that person out. That would be the problem of
So,
I
Mr.
mean,
Chang,
Let's say
if let's say, sorry, yeah, if let's say, like I said, because since we are focusing on the SMEs business, right? So if for an SME owners, if they really want to venture into live commerce, which specific law that should be looking at first before they even really start the live commerce thingy?
oh, well, we register your business first in the first place, and then the Companies Act under Companies Act, and then the what I mentioned in my slide just now is about the e-commerce. E-commerce is the recognition that the electronic transactions, okay, is recognized by law.
Okay. So basically, whether it's if the SME owners decided to go for e-commerce or live commerce, the similar act they need to be aware of, right? Basically, as to the
Yeah,
e-commerce.
yeah. But the law of the real world, I mean our local law is still applicable because you are still a
Right.
business.
The usual
Okay,
commercial law is still there, lah. Huh?
yes.
Okay,
question,
understand.
Dr. Isaac.
Yes.
Okay, because I'm actually asking on behalf of some of the partners who are joining us tonight, which are partners of legal firms who are joining us tonight, because
Yes.
at this moment, as we know, the legal industry or legal fraternity are mainly very physical, where the courts are physical, the offices, everything are physical. So if let's say they would want to digitize their business, do you have any tips or any suggestion?
Okay, so this is where, as I mentioned earlier on, a lot of professional services, how they are coping with the situation. In the past 50 days, they've been focusing on marketing. One, so marketing in reaching out to new market, actually. So they are utilizing this time to establish themselves as the figure of authority of a certain niche. Okay, so for example, if you are from a law firm, but there's a certain niche, right? Like, for example, if you are focusing just on litigation, or litigation in which specific area, then you would want to position yourself as a figure of authority. And this is what I see that it's being done, that virtual summits are being conducted. So that is why we have developed a platform as well to enable these professional service providers to have a more formal platform to conduct their conferences or their virtual summits. So instead of using Zoom or Skype, that is the perceived value is a bit lower with those open video conferencing tools. So what we are saying is that that they are focusing more on marketing at this point of time to reach out to and to generate more businesses. So yeah, that's one. Another is also perhaps to invest in your administration. How can you be more efficient in monitoring and getting the best out of your team when they are working remotely from home? Yeah. So what are the systems in place that you can monitor their progress? Yeah. So you wouldn't want to contact them, call them, WhatsApp them day by day. You want everyone to log into a centralized project management platform, and everyone is self-reporting every day. And so yeah, so you have all the analytics there. So everyone govern their own or have their own self-discipline. So marketing is one on that. So be a voice of authority. Okay, this is the time to actually emerge, to be that voice of authority. And then in terms of administration, what's the feedback we are getting is that a lot of business owners, they are really unsure what their team plays are doing at home actually. So very hard to see. It's like a black box some sort. So you need to invest in that as well. So that will be the first two areas which I think they can focus on.
Okay, we have a question from Josie here. She was asking about we mentioned about the funding available at the beginning of the session from property business, what fund that we could utilize or claim. Yeah, I guess Issac has actually proposed to look for SME Corps. Yeah, SME Corps website for the full list of COVID-19 funds offered by the government. Obviously, there are several different funds that you can look for if you're under the SME category itself. That includes the relief fund as well, where you can actually talk to your local bankers, whichever bankers that you are working with now. You can actually apply through them with a very low interest rate as well. Of course, the 6 months loan moratorium as well. I don't know whether it applies to your business or not, but you may be looking at that as well. Yeah. Other than that, also they have other financing facilities, employer COVID-19 assistance program, microcredit scheme by Credit Guarantee Corporation, and sorts of other different funding information as well. So you may actually look into SME Corp website for that, as what Issac has proposed to you. And she also has another question about live commerce to help property or solar business itself. Issac, you want to take on this?
Yeah. So as I also left a comment in the chat, in the chat box over there, that I'm not sure whether you're selling it direct to consumer or is it through B2B, business to business. So a very simple setup will be setting up your own Facebook page, your company's Facebook page or Facebook group. Then you can stream live right away. So just this morning I saw a lighting company. So they were selling live. So the business owner was in his own shop, and he was showing, okay, this pile of box of fans here and lights. I'm having a promotion. Those who buy now, you get a box of masks for free, face masks. Okay, so it could be very simple as that actually. Or if you want it to be a little bit more serious, a little bit more professional, as I mentioned earlier on about my suggestion to the law firms is that be that voice of authority. So then you can invite different speakers to this some sort of half-day seminar or half-day webinar, and then you can have different professional speakers, different content experts to come, and then you be the sponsor of that. You be the sponsor of that conference or that seminar. Yeah, and then that's how you feature and position your product. Yeah.
Okay. So I think especially for high involvement products like property, it is not that easy to really close your sales virtually as compared to physical sales closing, right? Obviously, you can use a lot of technologies as well, like virtual reality. Yeah, if you are able to screen out or whatever experience that you want to your customers to experience when they want to buy your property, for example, and that can be shown on live commerce as well. Yeah. But again, when it comes into closing sales, it's a different matter altogether. Yeah. So you may want to consider something like that. Yes,
To
Isaac?
add on, yeah, just to add on a little bit, if you're talking about property, then what I've mentioned earlier on about the exhibition, where we are having a 3D exhibition hall, a 3D virtual exhibition hall. Some property developers are doing this as well, 3D virtual show unit. So you can send a link to your customer, and then they can virtually just roam around the show unit. So that would give that experience, some sort, yeah, a better experience. And I think beats face to face, but I mean that's the next best thing, lah.
Okay. We have another 10 minutes to go, yeah, before we will end this session. So we'll take a couple of one or two questions more, perhaps from the floor here. So Mr. Chan, there's a question for you from Kevin Wong. Any website or resource I can refer to in regards to the legal T&C examples for online business? Those T&C for consumers before they enter the digital premise.
Digital
Yeah.
premise. Yep.
Digital premise. Yep.
Terms and conditions online.
Mm.
I wouldn't recommend you to search online for the terms and conditions actually.
Yeah.
I mean, if you are a business, I actually strongly urge that. Of course, you can print out the you can do Google search. It's okay, but after you print out, you take those terms and conditions that you want, go and see a lawyer and get the proper consultation for that, because a lot of time if you search for the terms and conditions online, you will see that what I mentioned just now, the main problem of the jurisdiction issue, there's a terms that they want their contract to apply in the US law and everything. Is that what you want? So you better get someone to check your thing. Anyhow, if your business is already go online in digitize, you only spend one time on the lawyer. You don't need to spend 100 times on the contract. Just one time. It's a lot cost efficient actually. If you want me to say that, yeah.
Mr. Chan, I believe that when some of the SME ask these questions, of course, their concern is about finance. So let's move forward. What if the business it's having a problem, and then I don't want to spend money to go to the court? Is there any alternative way, for example, arbitration?
Yes, of course you can set in your terms and conditions to say that you prefer the arbitration. Okay, but the arbitration is not necessarily cheaper than the court actually. It is just I would say the arbitration is could be fast. Sometimes it could be faster, but the main advantage is that the arbitrator will be more expert in dealing with especially when it comes to the specific industry disputes.
I
So
see.
if let's say, sorry, yeah, if let's say there is a business like currently we are running business in Malaysia, and then I want to enter into a contract. Let's say it's an online business with a foreign company, let's say in China. So is arbitration still applicable?
Yes, of course. You can choose the arbitration that you prefer. Actually, it's not necessary that it must be in Malaysia. But then it's through the negotiation. If you want the China company, probably China company, they will want your arbitration to be in Shanghai or at the very least in Hong Kong. You know, so it's still up to the preference and the bargaining power actually. See who is more desperate. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Chan, for your feedback. Just a quick one, yeah, just to give the audiences and some idea. As you said just now, you know, they can maybe get some information online to draft the T&C, and maybe they go for advice or consultation with a lawyer, right? Roughly, how much does it cost for this kind of consultation? Just to give the SME owner some idea.
Oh, it's very
Is there any range? Is there any range?
Yeah, is there any range for that?
Yeah.
It depends
I
actually.
have some idea. Yeah.
It depends. it could be as cheap as a few hundreds based on the hourly basis, and
Okay.
up to a few thousands, but it
Okay.
depends on the length of your contract actually.
Right.
But whatever it is, it will be cheaper than you doing physical contracts in in the huge numbers. Then the digitized, you only have one contract, okay, and you do it once
I
and
see.
it's for a long time. Okay.
I see. So
Still
the range
cost.
can be quite wide, yeah, the range itself.
Yeah,
Or could we just safely summarize that could be from a few hundreds to a few thousands?
yeah.
Mm.
It depends on
Okay.
it could be hourly charges. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
see, I see.
But my advice, if I could chip in actually, how you can help your lawyer as well is actually to take a look at your competitors' terms and conditions and the privacy notice. Okay, benchmark it, and then after that come up with a rough draft, and then that would actually do some lifting and reduce some of the hours of the lawyers.
Yeah. That will save a lot of time.
That is a piece of advice from the
Right.
business owner himself.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, yeah, Mr. Chan, for your tips there. So last piece of advice from both of you. Isaac first.
There's a lot actually I'd like to share as well. As Dr. Brian mentioned, that InQBay, we are the technology service partners for MDEC in this campaign of digital versus COVID. So we are extending out our help, and within the first 2 weeks, we have helped out 122 companies through this campaign. So we would like to continue to help out more companies. And just for today's session, those who are interested, if later on, perhaps I'll get Dr. Brian's help to forward the slide, that single slide that I have for you guys. At the bottom right corner, there's a link there. And if you're interested to know more, to have a one-to-one session, private discussion, I will make available about 3 to 4 slots next week or the week after. So the form is there. If you'd like to schedule for appointment, a complimentary one, for 30-minute discussion, one-to-one, we'll be more than happy to have our discussion there to answer further questions. Okay.
Okay, great.
So
Thanks, Isaac.
yeah, after this, so I'll need your help to just forward the slide
sure.
to participants. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. Chan, Mr. Chan.
Yeah, I'll just wrap up in very brief. Like what Dr. Isaac says about this e-commerce, it is a good time. It's really a good time to put your business online at this stage, because many of us are forced to do that. But why not? Because we need to adapt to the new norm. What I wish, today, if I'm able to express here, I wish to urge our government, especially Malaysia government, that if we want to boost our e-commerce industry, actually we should have a very good network facilities. I really urge the government to have to let us have the fiber connection available to everyone. Okay, it's not for the service provider to decide which area to profitable for them to to set up their service. The internet is a huge market by itself, and it shouldn't be overlooked. So
Yep.
I think that's all for today. From mine.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chan. Yeah. So again, these are some of the credits to the sources used in this session here. Yeah, and the next session that will have is next Monday, 11th of May 2020 from 3 to 4 p.m. Yeah, 3 to 4 p.m. Malaysian time again. The topic will be focusing specifically on the legal matters. So SME Survival Kit, Know Your Legal Matters will be in. Specifically, we'll be looking into commercial and employment law for SMEs. When you redesign or remodeling your business strategies, you may need to know all these legal matters as well, yeah, as it will concerns your business survival itself. Okay, and for that we will have two panelists as well. The first one is Dr. Teh Tai Yong, and the second one is Mr. Arun Kumar. Yeah, so join us next Monday from 3 to 4 p.m. on WebEx as well. Okay, and the registration code is there and the login is there as well. Yeah, so just have a look there. If you have any more further questions, you can send your inquiry to us, to me, Dr. Brian, to those email or to those WhatsApp numbers as well. And at the same time, follow us on our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube channel, or UOW KDU. Yeah. So once this video is uploaded to the YouTube channel of UOW KDU, an email will be sent to all of the participants here. Okay. So thank you very much, Mr. Chan, as well as Dr. Isaac, for your time, and Yvonne as well,
Thank
to
you.
work together this evening. And have a good evening, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Brian. And thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Okay. Take care.
Yeah, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.